everyone. This is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com, and welcome to episode 52. Joining me is Coastal Magic Convention featured author Lisa Kessler. She's one of the talented authors that will be in attendance at CMC this upcoming February in Daytona Beach, Florida. Lisa Kessler is the author of many adult paranormal romance series, which include today's featured series, The Muse Chronicles. Lisa's latest title in this series, Legend of Love, was released Monday, December 5th. Be sure to check out Lisa's series and find her on social media. All of the links can be found below in the show notes. If you'd like to comment on today's episode, please leave a comment below or tweet at me on Twitter at shelfaddiction. Hey Lisa, thank you for joining me. How are you on this wonderful late fall day?
I am great. It's sunny and beautiful here in San Diego, so all good.
Ooh, nice. Oh, it's kind of dreary and rainy in Michigan, but...
But no snow?
No snow yet. It's actually 50-something degrees today, so that's a good thing.
Oh, nice. You got your shorts out.
Oh, I don't know if I go that far. But it is what it is. So we are here today to talk about your awesome books. So before we jump into that, I know that you writers read as much as us book nerds do. So if you have anything that you're reading right now, I would love if you'd share that with us.
Oh my gosh, I am reading, it's way out of my reading comfort zone, but every once in a while, usually I read paranormal romance and urban fantasy. I just finished the second book in Kelly Armstrong's Canesville series, Visions. Oh my gosh, so good. I love her urban fantasies, and Canesville is really creepy. It's right up my alley. But I finished that book, and I found it was actually on BookBub, a nonfiction book, and it's called Empty Mansions, but it has been fascinating, and it's such an interesting time period, the early 1900s, and, all the powerhouses are alive, the Astors and the Vanderbilts, and anyway, it's been a really interesting book, so I highly recommend it if you're into, that kind of thing. It's really well written so far, so I'm enjoying it.
Very cool. I do like a nonfiction title once in a while, but I am like a fiction diehard, especially your genre, which is paranormal and urban fantasy. I just love it.
Have you read the Canesville series yet?
I have not, no.
Oh, put it on your list. It's really good. If you read Kelly Armstrong's Women of the Otherworld series with werewolves and witches and sorcerers and all that, Canesville is totally different, but really creepy and cool. It's more omens and fortune tellers, and it's really cool. And now the Fae are starting to come into it. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it.
I'm going to have to check that out. I think the only thing I've read by her were the first few books in the Bitten series.
Right. That's the Woman of the Otherworld. And I love that series too. This one is very different, but I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I'm going to add it to my TBR, that never-ending TBR list.
Right?
Yes. So what books and or authors would you say have influenced your writing style?
Oh, there are many. Probably the one who started me writing was really Anne Rice. I loved her Vampire Chronicles in the late 90s. I was so into them. If you remember internet news groups, I was in the Anne Rice news group, and it would take so long to get books in between that some friends from the news group and I all got together and started writing our own vampires for fun. So I did that for quite a few years before I actually started writing to get published. So she had a big impact. And Ray Bradbury, giant, I probably never would have gotten published. I got to meet him a couple of times before he died, and definitely changed my life as a writer. And I love Kelly Armstrong, and she was the one who, she came to Comic-Con here in San Diego, and I loved her Women of the Otherworld, the Bitten series, and saw that she was coming. And so I was one of those readers, and I sent her an email and said, I live in San Diego. I would love to meet you. And she actually emailed me back and said, okay, I have time this time. So I met her in the hotel lobby and we chatted, and she was the one who told me to join RWA. So she definitely helped me in my publishing journey as well. And Christine Feehan too. I had a short story that was a finalist for a Bram Stoker Award, a vampire short story. And I loved Christine Feehan, and I actually had emailed her at one point, and she liked the story and got me in touch with her agent. That didn't work out, but man, it really encouraged me. So those are probably the big guys who really helped.
That's awesome that those authors were so willing to kind of help you out, because you always wonder, do the big time authors, do they really help out the little guys? But I guess some do.
Some really do. And it can make a giant difference. I also got to meet Sherilyn Kenyon at a couple of San Diego Comic-Cons. And she's so wonderful and so sweet and so encouraging. And she actually has given me 2 blurbs, cover blurbs for my books. And I appreciate it so much. She's just wonderful as well.
Wow, that's awesome. You've met some really cool authors.
I have. I've been very blessed in that way.
Very nice. So are you a self-published author, or do you have a publisher that you're using?
I'm hybrid now. Legend of Love is my second book in my first self-pub series that I've ever done. All of my other books are with Entangled. Mm-hmm. And I was one of Entangled's launch authors, so I've been with them since the beginning. But I'm really excited about the new series. So far, self-publishing has been really exciting, although expensive. So it's challenging, but wow, having the control is a wonderful thing. So I hope that people will enjoy the series, and I have 6 books planned for it. So anyway, very exciting. And the second book comes out next week. So I'm like, it's very exciting. Earlier are starting to come in. And this is when I bite my nails. I'm like, I love this book. Please love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know what, though? I know you mentioned it was expensive, and I believe it, because you know what? Your cover art is like very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. My cover artist, I'm using Fiona Jade, and she was so excited about this series when I told her about it. And she came up with the concept. I want to feature, because each of the guardians of the muses have heroic careers. So she said, I want to feature each hero's career on the covers. And I told her I wanted some kind of series logo, and gosh, she came up with the perfect one. So anyway, I'm very, very blessed. But yeah, when you're self-pubbing, you have to pay for the cover and the editing and the proofreading and the formatting all before the book ever comes out. So you don't have any, there's no royalties yet. And then when the book comes out, it takes a couple months before you actually start seeing any royalties. So it is expensive. When you're with a publisher, they cover that for you. So, it's definitely, there's perks either way, but right. Self-pubbing is a little scary.
I believe that, but at least you have like more freedom with your story, I think, when you self-pub.
Definitely. Yeah. And you have more control over pricing. Like next week when Legend of Love comes out, the first book, Lure of Obsession, is going to be on sale. So people who who missed out on the first book will hopefully be able to get both books for a great deal and, get ready for book 3 that comes out in May of next year.
Ooh, okay. So let's talk about that series. It's called The Muse Chronicles.
Right.
So it is a paranormal romance, and it also has some other aspects, right? So mythology is one. What are some of the other genres that this touches?
It's definitely very romantic suspensey. That's my second love after paranormal. And these they're very high suspense, and the paranormal is different. One of the book reviewers of the first book said that, this is like a whole new kind of paranormal romance, because none of my paranormal people have none of them are immortal. None of them have magic. They're very much like regular, like us, except that when these women turned 18, a Greek muse is born inside them. And the men all have the same birthmark in different spots on their bodies, but it has no difference in their life because whatever power that they have, it's not activated till they find their muse. So if they never find their muse, they're just normal. But they all have heroic tendencies. So it's a really neat, it's very fun for me to play in because the characters are really relatable. You know, they don't live forever. They don't drink blood. They can eat food. But they struggle with, you know, the women, whatever muse is inside them, the muse is hungry for what it is. The book that comes out Monday, she's the muse of epic poetry. So her muse is constantly hungering for the next high, the next adrenaline rush, you know, all that kind of thing. And so she's a psychologist. So she starts working at a Navy base counseling Navy SEALs. So she feeds the muse through their stories and tries really hard to keep it under control. The first book, she's the muse of tragic poetry, and so she always tries really hard to see the glass as half full, but it's always half empty. She always sees the worst case scenario. So it's, so it's paranormal romance, but the characters are really easy to relate to because they could be us. So that's been fun.
So the women, they're aware that they have the muse inside of them.
Yeah, all of them started having dreams of a broken down theater in a make-believe town I made up in California. And so when they all graduate college, all of them sort of migrated toward that because they're going to rebuild the theater of the muses. And so anyway, they all eventually find each other. But yeah, they figure out what's going on eventually. Each one has a different muse inside of her. So they have dreams of her face, her statue, all the theaters of the muses that there's been through the centuries. And they put the pieces together. And then when they find each other, one of them is the muse of history. And she's the one who did all the reading and research and figured it all out. So she filled in.
Okay, so all of them, as the books go on, they start to, interact with each other. So as the series goes on, we see previous characters reoccur.
Yes, yeah. When the series opens, all the muses are already together. Just the guardians aren't there. So as you see each one. And it's kind of like, I have a werewolf series, and it's always the men. They're in the pack, and then they find their mate and bring women in. And this is like an introverted pack because the women are the group. They're together, and the men are coming in. And I love that dynamic.
I love that, really. So, like, the women have to break the news to the guy. Well, you've got this mark, and clearly you're supposed to protect me, so...
Yeah, so tough on you, but yeah, exactly. It has turned that whole trope on its head, and they aren't like mates like a werewolf would be. There's not that. They don't have to fall in love. The prophecy is that he has to protect her. It's just a bonus that it's romance, so they do fall in love. But yeah, it basically, instead of the women always being, having no clue, and these poor men who turn in, when they find their muse, their birthmark starts to burn, and then they'll get one ability that's theirs alone. Like in the first book, he starts to get visions when he touches things, and so he thinks he's going nuts. And she has no idea he has the birthmark on the back of his shoulder. And so the birthmark's burning. He's having these visions. So he keeps going to the doctor. He thinks he has skin cancer and a brain tumor. So eventually he ties it all back to her, and he's like, hey, tell me what's going on. And so finally she sees the mark, and then she tells him what's going on. But every book it's in a different spot on each man. So it's very fun to see, how they handle finding out. You don't have a brain tumor. The second hero can hear people's thoughts if it's related to his muse. So it turns off and on, and he's like looking at people really hard, trying to make it work, and he can't hear it.
Oh, that's funny.
And then all of a sudden he will. Yeah, so it's been really fun, but I love having the sisters. They all call each other sisters because the muses were the 9 daughters of Zeus. So they call each other sisters even though they're not like blood related. So it's very much like a werewolf pack, but it's women.
Yeah, I like the fact that this is, paranormal, but with humans. It's like something you don't see very often, so that's definitely unique.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that people will have fun with, because I'm having fun writing it. I still, my werewolf series is still going on, and I love the pack and the wolves and all that. But I told my husband when I started writing this series, I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about how things smell.
Yeah, that's an issue with wolves.
Werewolves. Yeah, with the werewolves, you constantly have to figure out, are they downwind? Can they smell that guy coming? Can they smell her fear? And now I don't have to worry about that with this series, which is wonderful.
So you mentioned earlier that all of the guys have like heroic jobs. So is that like by design because they're just naturally people that like to care for people or protect people?
Yeah, when I was planning out the series, it took me a couple years. The idea actually came from a short story that I wrote, and it took a couple years for it to germinate enough for me to start writing the books. But I figured that if the gods marked these men from birth to be guardians, they would be drawn toward heroic jobs of protecting people, even though they don't know that's what they're meant for. Yeah. So the first book, he's a police detective, and the second book, he's a Navy SEAL, and the third book, he's a fireman. And I'm trying to remember. Oh, the fourth book is paramedic. So, they all have first responder jobs because it's like hardwired in them to help people.
Yeah.
And that played in really well with the, if the gods marked you to protect his daughters, he would mark people who were heroes. So it's been really fun so far.
I always have to ask this because it's a romance. I've got to know, what's the heat level here? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't know, maybe an emotional romance, maybe equivalent to Christian fiction, and 10 being, borderline erotica. Where does your series fall?
I think mine are like 7 and 8. They're very steamy and very sexy, and it's not closed door or anything like that. But I don't usually use the the erotic hot button words. So it's mainstream sexy.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very palatable for a lot of people, so that's good.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I try to appeal to the most possible, but I do get reviews sometimes that are like, this book was so hot, and yet, but because, sexy times happen, and you're right there, but I think you can make it hot even if you're not, pushing the envelope with your vocabulary.
Well, sometimes like those type of scenes, it's all like mental. So we as readers, we read something differently from one another. So I might read something and think, wow, that's, really off the charts. And someone else will be like, well, it's all right. It's
right. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it's okay. So.
That's the hard part as a writer, because you want to appeal to as many people as possible. But the truth is you're never going to make everybody happy. You just have to, stay true to the story and the characters and, and then hope that it resonates with as many people as possible.
Yeah. Well, another aspect to romance, especially paranormal romance, is there's a lot of like insta love going around, but being that these are humans, I'm assuming there's not a lot of insta love going because there's no paranormal force forcing them to kind of mate with each other. Right. So is there a lot of insta lust instead?
There is definitely some in this new book coming out Monday, because my Navy SEAL is on leave at the beginning of the book, and he's a surfer. So there are lots of scenes where he is, halfway undressed, and it's very hard for her not to notice that dude. so there's definitely some lust going on, but she had a really bad experience. She almost got married, and she had a bad experience because of her muse. So she doesn't do relationships. So that was fun in this book also, because for once it's the woman saying, nah. Right. And the guy going, hey, take a chance on me. Ooh. She's like, nah. So that was fun. And in the first book, my hero was just, he was such a tortured hero. I love Nate so much from the first book, but he also had some hangups that kept him from having relationships. So yeah, it's very different from the werewolf going, oh my gosh, it's my mate. Right. I have to learn all about her and love her. Right. This is definitely more contemporary romantic suspense. I mean, there is some pull there because somebody is risking their life to save yours. And I think that that's really primal. You can't help but care about that person. But there isn't that insta love, there she is, my one soulmate. Right. There's none of that.
Okay. Very cool. I like that. I mean, I feel like it's, it makes the story a little bit more complex when it's not instant. Even though that is really attractive sometimes to read, but it makes it fun to see what the author can do when that tool isn't there. So I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot more push and pull. Right. In these books, because there isn't a guarantee. I think it's in the first book, the Muse of History, who had figured out the prophecy and all that. She was the one, I think, that said, oh, now you found him. And the other muse was quick to point out, it doesn't say that he has to love me. It says he has to protect me. And so, yeah, so there's no instant mate or anything like that going on.
Right. So what were a few of the challenges, if any, that you came across, whether it's research or, writer's block or, something psychological that you may have experienced when bringing this series to life?
It took me a really long time to figure out the antagonist for the series, because paranormal, you almost always have, some kind of dark organization or a dark sorcerer or there's always something who is after the good guys. And when I was thinking about writing the series, I'm like, who would hate muses? They inspire people. Who would hate that? And so the series idea just sat on the back burner for a really long time. And then one time I started researching Greek mythology again, trying to figure out, what it would be. And when I stumbled across the story of Kronos, the king of the Titans, he's actually Zeus's father. Mm-hmm. And Zeus kills him, or he doesn't kill him, but he conquers him, and he puts Kronos and all the Titans in a prison in the center of the earth. And then Zeus and Mount Olympus take over. But Kronos' reign with the Titans was actually written as the golden age of man. It was the time of milk and honey, because the Titans protected mankind, whereas, Zeus sort of meddled in mankind, and there were lots of little half gods and angry husbands and angry goddesses and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking about that, and I'm like, gosh, wouldn't there be people who think that if they brought the Titans back, that it would be milk and honey again, that there wouldn't be any more, terrorism, wars, any of that stuff? They could think that they're the good guys.
Wow, yeah.
So then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, man, if the muses are inspiring solar energy and all this other stuff, because we like to think of muses as art and painting, but they actually were for the sciences as well. So I was like, wow, if they were making clean energy, hey, if you were trying to free the Titans, you would have to drill. I'm like, okay, an oil company would not want solar energy. And I'm like, okay. And it started germinating. And so the Order of the Titans has been around since Zeus took over. Mm-hmm. And they are very close now to the center. They have one offshore drilling site that's secret. that is getting really close to the Earth's core. And so they don't want the muses to reopen this theater, and they don't want humanity to move on because they need the money to finish their drilling. So anyway, it all worked out really well. So there's this big oil company, Belkin Oil, and they are heavily involved with the Order of the Titans, and they all see themselves as the good guys.
Right.
The world is going to thank us. There's not going to be any more war and strife and all this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They just have to stop these women.
So I guess they're villains, but they're like kind of, I guess they're, I don't know what kind of villains. They're not like really bad villains. They're just villains that have reasons.
They're villains who are willing to kill these women in order to bring back the land of milk and honey. They think that some sacrifices have to be made. So to the muses, these guys are really bad, but they aren't hurting, other people. They think that, they believe in their mission, which for me is the best villain to write. Mm-hmm. I like villains where you can almost see their side of it. Yeah, you can almost go, I wouldn't kill somebody for it, but they're a very complicated villain, which I like, and I have 6 books to get it all resolved, so it'll be fun.
All right. So speaking of 6 books, so I guess that's what you're working on now. What other future projects are you working on?
Well, my Wolf Pack is still going. The 2 final books will be out next year. I'm working on edits for Wolf Moon that comes out in February. And I just found out that New Moon, the final book in the series, will come out in June. And I'm still writing that one. I've already got that one started too. And so that's super exciting. 8 books in that series. So the final 2 are coming. And I also have a little novella coming for a project that a bunch of authors have all gotten together for RT next year. So if you're going to RT in Atlanta, you'll be able to see all of us there. And I'm super excited. I have not shown anybody the cover yet, but I'm very excited, and I will finally get to write my pirate series.
Oh, nice.
I love pirates, but I'm not a historical author. Mm-hmm. And so I've always wanted to write them, and I finally have the perfect idea to have these immortal pirates who were on a crew that actually did find the Holy Grail. And so they drank out of it, and their captain is still pirating, but nowadays he's pirating in real estate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
and the
cool.
rest of the crew is still in Savannah, Georgia, where their ship used to be. And so they protect Savannah. And now the captain is coming back to get land there and build a high rise in the historic district. And so anyway, that'll be a whole new series, but I can't wait.
That sounds actually really fun. I bet it would be fun to read.
It here first, because I haven't told anybody yet.
Oh, you guys, you got the scoop right here. All right, awesome.
Scoop.
So there are always writers in the audience. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers that are looking to get published or even finish a book for that matter?
Yes. Write short stories first. So many people start to write a novel and they never finish. And then they start the next novel and they never finish. And then because when you get to the middle of a book, it's really hard. It's hard to keep the tension going and get to the end. And I really think that writing short stories, you learn to get that feel for beginning, middle, end. And pretty soon, each of your chapters in your book really are like a short story. And so if you can master them and keep them going, then you're ready to write a book. Ray Bradbury used to say that writing a book is like writing a novel is like running a marathon. Would you get out of your recliner and go try and run a marathon today? No.
Right.
You would run short sprints first to get ready. And so he felt very strongly that you really need to master writing short stories first before you try and tackle a book. And that changed everything for me. I wrote, he told me to write a new short story every week for a year. And so I did that, and I had so much fun that I also wrote for another 6 months after that. So I have a gajillion short stories. But during that time, I wrote the short story that kicked off the whole Moon series. That never would have happened if I hadn't written that short story. And the Muse Chronicles also came from a short story, Unemployed Muses Anonymous. That series came from that story. And while I was doing that story challenge, I finished 2 novels. So I really believe strongly in learning short story format and form and master it, right? And writing 1 a week isn't that much, and you can get it done, and you learn so much, and your craft gets so much better. That would be my biggest advice. And don't give up. Keep writing.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Before we jump into talking about Coastal Magic a little bit, is there anything else that you would like to share about the Muse Chronicles before we go on?
Well, I do want to say that this second book in the Muse Chronicles that comes out on Monday would not have been possible were it not for a bunch of amazing readers. When we had an unexpected job loss in our house, and the book was already up for pre-order, and I already had the book finished, but I needed to pay for cover and edit and proofread and formatting. And after a couple days of crying, trying to figure out how in the world am I going to get this book out on time, somebody turned me on to that Patreon website for basically, it's for creators of all the different arts, and then people can jump in to be their patrons to help. And so I looked at it and I thought, well, for most of these people, they're photographers and vloggers and stuff like that. And so they can, give you a signed picture or something. What can I give you? So anyway, I came up with some things and put it up there. And oh my gosh, I have like the best readers in the whole world, because this never would have happened without them. So they're all in the acknowledgments of the book. But this has definitely been a labor of love trying to get this book out on time. And I could not have done it without amazing readers. Romance readers seriously are the best human beings on earth. So huge gratitude to all of them for believing in me and the book and the series. I'm just touched by all of them.
Wow,
so
that's awesome that they were able to help you out. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, the book is out, or it's out on Monday.
It's going to be here Monday. I can't wait.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Coastal Magic, and that is what brought us here together today. That is this upcoming February in Daytona Beach. Have you done Coastal Magic in the past?
I have. This will be my 3rd one.
Wow, cool. So that means you really like it then.
I love it. It's one of my favorite conferences ever. Jennifer, who puts it together every year, she was one of my early supporters before I ever even had a book out. She used to read my short stories, and I would post 1 a week on my blog. And when my werewolf book was in the RT Writing with the Stars contest, Jennifer made me vote buttons, and oh my gosh, she is amazing. And so when she started the conference, I couldn't go the first couple years, which super bummed me out. And then when I finally did get to go, oh my gosh, it's just small enough and just big enough. It's really fun. Great chance to get together with readers. And my street team is the Night Angels, and a lot of them live around there, I guess. So we always have a Night Angel dinner there, which is super fun. And it's just a wonderful conference. And the panels are so different than what you normally see. I usually do that flash fiction craziness with Damon Suede, and it's so fun. So anyway, I love going. I look forward to it every year now.
That's good. This is my first year, so I keep hearing great things, so I'm very excited for it. Hopefully I will be able to see you there.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned the panels. What panels did you sign up for this upcoming conference?
Well, she gave us a list of a gajillion, and we had to mark which ones we'd be interested in. So I don't know which ones I'm on just yet. But, she gives you panels like what real hauntings have you experienced? And I volunteer at a haunted house here in town, America's Most Haunted Residence. So I have lots of ghost stories. So I did that panel last year, and if she does it again this year, I'll do it again. She had a panel one year that was spouses of writers who had come to the conference anyway, just for vacation, and they all got up there and readers could ask them any questions. Oh my gosh, it was embarrassing, but very funny.
That's awesome. I like that those
was up there and he was sharing stories. I'm like, oh.
Like, oh, don't ask that question, or did you give him the eye? Like, don't you answer that question?
Well, he was cute because he would check and look at me first before answering.
That's very awesome. Oh, well, if they have that again, I'm definitely going to try to peek into that one. I have to moderate several of them. I don't know what I'm going to get assigned, but hopefully I get some fun ones.
Yeah, you'll love it. It's a great conference.
Well, thank you for that. And I know you're going to be signing some books at the signing, right? They have a signing.
Yep. They do have a signing at the end, and I will bring as many books as I can carry. So, yeah, okay. I'll have books.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that is it, and we're going to jump into the lightning round. Are you ready, Lisa?
Right. I'm ready.
Okay, so the lightning round is 60 seconds, 60 questions. Some are book-related, some are not. The only rule is that if I ask an A or B question, you must choose one. You can't say neither, and you can't say both.
Okay.
And yes, and I have a little timer here, so I won't go over because I'll ask questions all day if I don't have a timer. All right, are you ready?
I think so. I'm nervous now.
Okay, let's do it. Physical books or ebooks?
Ebooks.
Hero or villain?
Villain.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Name a book that you've read in one sitting.
Dark Fire by Christine Feehan.
Beer or wine?
Ugh. I don't like either of those.
Oh, no.
Fruity drinks.
Okay. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Vampires or werewolves?
Oh, that's hard. Werewolves, since I'm writing them right now.
Where is your favorite place to read?
On my couch.
Dog or cats?
Oh, I am both. I'll say cats right now.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
What's your favorite book or series when you were a child?
Probably The Phantom Toll Booth.
Ooh. See, look, time's up. Look how fast 60 seconds goes by.
I don't think we got through 60 questions.
No, and no one ever does. So you did really good. I think you got 13 questions, which was really good.
It was the beer and wine that stumped me.
Yeah, no one gets... I think the furthest anyone has gotten is maybe 16 or 17 questions. So I always say 60, and I have 60 here, but I'm like, no one's going to ever answer that many.
Okay, well, I feel respectable at 13.
Yes, you did a good job. Well, thank you for doing that. It was fun.
That was fun.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share? Maybe upcoming events or anything before we sign off for the night?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Coastal Magic in Daytona Beach, but bring a jacket. Every time I've gone, it has been freezing in Florida.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm trying to use Florida to get away from the winter in Michigan. Oh,
right. Well, there's no snow, but coming from San Diego, it is cold wind there in February. Every time we've gone, it's been so cold and windy. And the first year I didn't bring a jacket. Oh, I'm miserable. So bring jackets because even though it's Florida, it'll be cold in February.
Well, thank you for that advice. I will take that advice.
There you go.
Yes, it's been fun. Thank you so much for doing this interview. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Same here. Okay, guys, that's it. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
If If you enjoyed today's interview and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. First, you can head on over to iTunes and give a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the Shelf Addiction Podcast on Spreaker, the only place where you can listen live and get broadcast notifications so that you never miss an episode. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy bookish topics. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon with another author interview. Until next time, happy reading.